Hi guys, welcome back to Infinite Possibilities, the podcast where we explore the lives of amazing people, their choices, challenges and opportunities. And today I have a very special guest, Lili.
Hey Karen, how are you?
Good, thank you so much for being on the pod.
Oh no, very happy to help.
Awesome. So Lili, do you want to do a sort of 1 minute self-introduction?
Cool. Hi everyone, my name is Lili Wackwitz. I'm based here in the KPMG office in Brisbane with Karen, but in a different team.
Ooh.
I am a consultant in the operations advisory team within management consulting. So I do that during my day, and then on the side I run a not-for-profit called the VacSeen project with some of my peers from university.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Living a bit of a double life.
Double life, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So we want to go right from the beginning. So Lili, tell me, what kind of child were you like growing up?
See, I'm the oldest child. I've got 3 younger siblings, so 2 sisters and a brother. So I definitely was the author, I was probably the boss out of my siblings.
Yeah.
So very lucky to have grown up with mum and dad in St. Lucia.
Yeah.
They have been fully supportive of everything and anything that we've ever decided to do. So we all went to school together, and there's a big age gap between myself and my youngest brother. There's about 10 years.
Oh, okay.
So
You're like a mama.
Yeah, big sister vibes. So we all get along really, really well, even though we're all spread out over that 4 year. Well, the 4 of us over 10 years. So it's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Tell me more about your last name. Pretty sick.
Yeah.
How do I pronounce it? Wackwitz?
Wackwitz, yeah.
Wow.
So it is German-Polish. We still aren't 100% about exactly where it's from, but it's my dad's last name, obviously, but so he has a German background, and my mum has a Polish background. Her last name is Hinkfuss. So I was like, well, they wanted to hyphenate it, so I'd be Lili Hinkfuss Wackwitz.
Oh
and that was just too much.
Yeah.
Imagine writing that on all your forms and all your passport and everything, so stuck with Wackwitz, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. What has been the sort of funniest mispronunciations of Wackwitz?
Oh, I get Wackwitz all the time.
I was going to say that one.
Yeah, that's the one that I get all the time.
It sounds more wacky.
Yeah. No, it's not too bad. I mean, I've heard it all, so it's not bad.
That's cool. And then tell me more about being the oldest sibling.
Yeah.
So the younger ones screw up, it's your fault.
Yeah. Exactly. No.
A lot of responsibility. So not much freedom, would you say, as a kid?
Oh, no, we had so much freedom. We were really
that's
lucky.
awesome.
I mean, it was never a drag or anything like that.
Yeah.
All 4 of us are really, really different people. So it has certainly been an awesome experience to watch them grow up. As the oldest, I get to see them do all their little bits and pieces, and we've all ended up in different career paths or, following different passions. So it's very cool to be able to, watch it as the oldest, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You're ready to be a parent.
Yeah.
All right?
No
Thinking
way.
about, watching your, kids grow up. Yeah, that's cool. And also tell me more about school. Did you enjoy school growing up? How did you sort of fit in the environment? The popular kid?
I don't know about
Did you
that. No, I was went to school at Ironside State School for primary school. So and I preface by saying that my parents both didn't go to uni, so they did trades, and so we grew up in St. Lucia because they said, you will go to university and you'll go to UQ, so that'll be, we'll base ourselves there so it's easy for you all to go. So that's why we went to Ironside.
Yeah.
Loved primary school a lot, and I know that's a lot of people don't really resonate with primary school, or it just seems kind of insignificant, but it was definitely an awesome way for me to make friends. I have lifelong friends from that school, and many of which I was able to take through to high school. In high school, I was head girl, so that was really, really fun as an awesome experience in leadership, but it also gave me the opportunity to kind of work with lots of different people. Like, we would constantly communicate with girls in the junior school or girls in the senior school at different levels and leadership experience. So it was great to be able to do that. I was very involved with co-curricular at school. I played the trombone.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
So played the trombone. I started that when I was 9 years old and went all the way through school, and then even played when we had college events and that kind of thing. So I'd get involved.
So you still know how to play?
I haven't picked it up in a couple of years, but
we should have brought it for a quick rendition.
Yeah, so loved that. It's actually how I met my best friend. Yeah, she and I both in grade 8 started in high school and kind of got bunched into the same room.
Yeah.
And our music teacher, Mr. K, was like, you guys will get along just fine.
That's actually really cute.
Yep, so Ella and I have been mates ever since, and that's how we got started, playing the trombone.
Wow, and none of you really like have a big part of trombone in your life, but each other.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's been nice, you know, like all those little things in school really help to kind of build your character, and then you build those friendships and the network through that. So yeah, I was involved, I played trombone in jazz ensembles, in orchestras, I sang in choirs, and then I also, I play water polo still, so I played water polo all through school, I swam, and I played tennis a little bit as well.
Yeah, wow, a bit of everything, you know, sporty, musical and whatnot.
Yeah, you got to give it all a go.
Yeah, and tell me, why trombone?
You know, when you're in
delicate, gentle, you know, sings and plays the flute, and then it's like plays the trombone, it's like
exactly.
Sort of
I know.
that sort of image.
And it was terrible to carry home, it was so heavy, but when we were in grade 4, we went through and did all the, you know, you go around and you try all the instruments, and then based on what sound you make or how good you sound on it, the teacher then picks it for you. So the teacher picked the trombone for me, which was, my mum wasn't that pleased. Yeah.
Wow. And what was your reaction like? Like me, trombone?
No, to be honest, I wanted to play the tuba. I wanted to play the tuba. I wanted the biggest instrument I could get. But settled with the trombone, another brass instrument, and it actually was awesome. I loved it. Because I never really properly learned how to read music, but it was more just learning how to actually play the instrument was awesome for me. I loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Also, tell me more about going to a private girls' school. A lot of drama. So you went Ironside is like pretty mixed, right? Girls and guys.
Yeah. And then to an all-girls school.
Yeah.
It was really fun. I loved it. I mean, I hear a lot, you know, there's people, there's with tension, there's drama, and don't get me wrong, there was always that around, you know, where you sat in the formal and that kind of thing, and who wore what dress. So there's always that, but it's fairly superficial, and I think for me it was a network that was really strong, you know, all these wonderful independent women who just wanted to achieve so much as individuals, but also as a collective. So I had a wonderful experience at school. No problems.
That's cool. Tell me more about putting your hand up for head girl.
Oh, that was fun.
Was that like, how did you sort of like, had you been sort of, you know, building a lot of other small leadership roles until you decided to, head girls kind of like, as a school captain equivalent? Yeah,
so I guess like you take on little roles throughout school, you know, house group captain and sports captain and that kind of thing. But I kind of put my hand up because I wanted to be a representative of my school, and I wanted to, you know, support the other girls in my year to achieve as much as they could, but also having had siblings in the lower years, I wanted to be able to communicate with them and really, it was nice to be able to resonate with their experiences as well through what I was doing. We filled in a form, we got shortlisted by our peers, then we had interviews and we gave a big speech. It was kind of like you've got 2 hours to write a 10-minute speech, and then you give the speech, you vote, and then that was that.
Wow.
A really, really good year. I loved that.
That's awesome. And have you always sort of been very proactive and, you know, putting yourself out there? Has there ever been like a shy Lily kind of phase? No?
Well, actually, I was probably not shy, but I think I was really struggling maybe last year or the year before with public speaking. You know, we all do, but going from speaking to large groups to then not doing any kind of stuff like that through uni, there's not really opportunities to speak in front of large crowds. That really made me very shy. So with my previous job, you know, any time that we had to give a client presentation, I would stutter. It was really not fun. So I actually started doing Toastmasters, if you've heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Public speaking classes, and that's been really wonderful. So that's kind of built my confidence back up. So not really shy as a person, but certainly I would get anxious about certain things like public speaking. Yeah.
Wow. Any sort of tips? How did sort of Toastmasters kind of boost that confidence? Is it just more the practice?
Yeah, practice. And I think the best thing about the format that they have in Toastmasters is that you are constantly providing feedback to others and they're giving it to you. So whether that be in the form of a written evaluation or just through a chat later on with a mentor, it was an awesome way to kind of really build that practice back up and those skills by also just watching other people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now back to high school. So in terms of like careers at the time, what were you thinking about, if you were thinking about anything?
See, I had no idea. I had no idea what I was going to do. Like I said, both my parents did trade, and I didn't really see myself doing that or what they'd done, so I felt like I was a little bit in the lurch.
Yeah.
I did maths, I did physics, economics, and drama, of all things. So I just picked some stuff that I liked and picked some stuff that I thought was a bit of a challenge and just tried as much as I could. Having left school, I kind of decided that economics was probably going to be my passion, based on the subjects that I'd done. So I picked commerce and I picked arts as my degrees for uni, and kind of went in there with a very open mind, not really knowing what I was going to be pursuing as a career beyond then. I think that journey it mainly started at uni, and I tell this story because it's a really silly one and it's quite fun, but I worked in cafes for the whole 5.5 years that I was studying. And that was my networking. That was my, cocktail, they have all those cocktail parties and you get to talk to lots of different people. I didn't really do a lot of that. I went along and just spoke to customers at the cafes that I worked at. So I would ask them what they do. If it interested me, I'd offer to buy them a coffee and sit down with them and just have a general chat. And it just so happened one time my dad and his cycling buddies came along to the cafe that I was working at, and Graham Matthew, who is a partner in one of the teams here at KPMG, said, you should really come and speak to David Ibbles. He's a wonderful mentor.
That's so awesome.
And I went, okay. So that was my very first understanding of what consulting was, or any interaction that I'd had with business whatsoever. That was the very first interaction that I had. So sat down with Dibs. He introduced me to consulting, and it was a great way to kind of build my connections, was through my first vacationer program here. But beyond that, I would speak to people in tech, I would speak to people in recruitment and in finance, and just try and pick their brain, because that's really how I developed an understanding of what I wanted to do. It was more, it was a ticking off the things that I don't want to do, because, it's so difficult to kind of pull down and create a niche and exactly, try and understand what you want to study or what you want to pursue as a career.
Yeah, that's awesome. Didn't know about that first interaction with Dibs.
Like that. That's how it happened.
Spotted talent from a young age. Yeah, how old were you at that time? That's pretty brave of you to just...
So from the age of 18 I was doing that, but by the time I made it to KPMG as a vacationer, I think I was 20. So that was, I was in my third year of uni, and pretty fortunate that I could do a vacationer program even before I was a penultimate student. So it made a really big difference in the way that I was able to better understand what I want to do as a career.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. And where did you get the idea to just, chat to customers about what they do? No, that's not what they write in the Bell careers.
Exactly. No, they never encourage that. And to be honest, I think why I decided to do that was because it was a point of difference. How many baristas are going to walk up to you and ask you what you do and tell you that you study commerce and you want to pursue an information systems background, and that kind of thing, I think really took a lot of people aback, and it certainly was an awesome
surprise.
Well, I think it was also a really opportunistic way to meet people. It was casual as well, and it made me feel quite comfortable, and I hoped that in those scenarios it would do the same for them. Yeah.
Wow, a barista that talks to you. Where do you let you hire one of those?
Need one of them. So it's actually been really funny, because I bumped into customers in this building, and I go, you've got kids at that school that I, near to, you've been to that cafe. And they go, who are you? And so it's cool. I get to make connections through that still, which is awesome.
Yeah, and does the idea of talking to strangers, does that terrify you?
Not really. Not really at all. I've just always been, you get some awkward conversations, don't get me wrong. And
What's the weirdest conversation?
I guess the weirdest would be well, it's, I guess, not necessarily weird, but it's quite interesting. I don't know, you'd be the same. If someone approaches you and asks you about your career or wants to learn a little bit more about what you do, you're going to open up and help them.
Yeah.
So it was those conversations where people weren't interested that really kind of shook me at times, and I kind of withdrew for a little bit and didn't approach those conversations as much when those situations occurred. But in most cases, I didn't really have any problems, and I think there was never a weird conversation, which was lucky.
That's good. That's good. Wow, good on you. Like, I never expected that.
Yeah, just a bit different. I thought, may as well give it a go.
Yeah, and if I were to imagine you at the cafe, is it like every second day you'd strike up a conversation, or what's the sort of frequency
I think it was never that frequent. It was more, once a fortnight, once every 3-4 weeks. If someone approached me or and saying, I'm really busy at work or that kind of thing, if they're looking for that interaction in the first place, it always really helps.
Yeah.
But, you hear on the grapevine what people do and you're like, I'm going to have a chat with them. So makes a difference, definitely.
Yeah, and then in terms of careers, what was the first one that you were sort of interested in? Was it consulting when you were at uni? Yeah,
so I think when I first started at uni, I didn't have any anticipation or idea as to what the Big Four even was, if I'm being honest.
I agree with you.
And it only kind of came about in my second year, and people going, I'm going to try and get an internship at the Big Four.
Yeah.
And self-conscious me, I was like, there's no way. I would never get into Big Four. So I started applying for all these smaller firms. I started in recruitment. And just kind of got a better understanding of what that industry was like. But it was so useful because I kind of better understood what an employer is looking for, what a resume should look like, how you should act in an interview to get certain, talking points across. So it was a really wonderful experience for me personally. I knew that it wasn't going to be the career that I pursued, but it was a great way to kind of better understand what an employer is looking for. So that was a really good start. But since then it's basically been consulting. I did an internship with the Queensland Investment Corporation. I was in their technology team and working on their business systems processes, building a ways of working documentation to kind of better understand their current ways of working as they were moving into a new software program. So that was really awesome to kind of understand better what that area of interest was, and I certainly would pursue that in the future, I think. But consulting has my eye for now.
Yeah, that's cool. And then you've also done like so many internships, not just that one. So what was sort of your kind of process for maybe standing out? Were you one of those people that, there's a networking event, there's one recruiter, and there's like 5 people gathered? Would you be attending those sort of events? It's so hard to sort of stand out when there's 5 people. Yeah,
I agree. And I think those are the kind of events that you really have to be quite courageous to attend. I would never approach, I would rather sit there and eat the food, if I'm being honest, at those information nights. And all of those connections and networking events, for me, it was more about better understanding what's out there rather than speaking to an individual in particular that I had in mind to go and speak with. I guess for me, the better way to network and to build those connections was always through that casual conversation that I'd have with someone. I was pretty fortunate, and that's how we met. We met through UQBA.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so it was wonderful to speak with alumni from the UQ Business Association. Yeah. They helped me a lot. I mean, I was able to build a network.
Keep going. Always around this time.
Always around this time.
Yeah, you're seeing like every interview in this room.
Everyone's doing these ones. Yeah, so what I was saying was with those conversations that you have with alumni, you can build an awesome network.
Yeah.
Here, even within my operations team, there's 5 or 6 alumni from UQBA. And when I vacationed at Deloitte, that was something that I was able to do through a connection that I had as well with another member of the alumni of UQBA.
Yeah.
So that was a really powerful way for me to meet people and get involved in those organisations.
Yeah, that's cool. And do you mind if we do a quick snapshot of all the internships you've done? Because like, if the audience hears about it, we're like, like Lily can, maybe you can do half of them.
Yeah, 100%.
So what was your first one?
Very first one was with a recruitment firm called Adecco. That was something that I just kind of dipped my toes into. I wasn't really 100% sure.
That's like your very first.
Very first. Exactly.
Wow.
So was really unsure about it, but I'm glad I did it. It was an awesome way to connect with people as well. Yeah. But then after that, I went to KPMG, did the vacation program over Christmas. So that was 2 months. The following year, I went to Deloitte, worked with their equivalent team to the team that I work in here.
So it's the equivalent.
Yeah.
So you've always sort of been, hovering around ops.
Yeah, always been in like the operations, supply chain space, strategy, that kind of thing, which I think has been really beneficial for me because it's certainly the way I want to go.
Yeah.
I then went over to QIC. So there I was doing that technology internship. Just across the road, yeah. So went over there and was with them for 9 months. They were fantastic.
Oh, that's quite a long internship.
It was a really long internship. And that was actually something that I was, really pleased to be doing. Something a little bit consistent, always learning over a long period of time. It was just a change from those 1 month to 2 month vacation roles that you normally do. From there, I went to EY. And so I was in their business transformations team, so that's more strategy based. I loved that, and I actually worked with them as an undergrad for just under a year. Yeah. It was a really, really fun experience. But then graduated and came back here to KPMG.
Wow, it's so funny that you came back to your very first second internship.
Look, to be honest, I think there were so many different factors, and everywhere I went, I enjoyed working.
Yeah.
But I think there was just something about KPMG that really resonated with me, whether it be the culture or the other opportunities that we get outside of just our work. So that was definitely something that brought me back.
Yeah, that's cool. And how did you sort of structure, being able to tick off all those internships? Usually if you take one Big Four, you don't get another Big Four internship. So how did you sort of manage to intern for so many?
Yeah, well, that very first intern program that I did with KPMG, that I was not a penultimate student, and that's normally where you start doing all those intern programs.
Did you have to apply through some other kind of system, like
no,
work experience?
It was just those connections that I was making.
Yeah.
So
you don't actually, you just send them your CV directly and then they figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so it was kind of a little bit backwards, and I think that happened at Deloitte as well, and it happened at QIC. Yeah. So, I mean, EY was pretty much the only one that I did the traditional pathway for. It just made it was, I guess, being able to start so much earlier made the decision harder, but also easier in the sense that I got a better understanding of what most of the Big Four do, or what other organisations do, and what I want to be able to achieve, and what things are going to be working well for me from an organisational standpoint, but also from a work standpoint.
Yeah. Wow, you're like a veteran. You just arrived.
I've survived. Those vacation programs can be really hard work, as you know.
They are.
It's fun. It's really fun.
But for you to do 3, I was just tired.
Yeah.
But it's funny because you worked at a cafe throughout the whole time, no? And why did you sort of keep that role? Because, here you are, flash consultant, little cafe,
I stuck with it because I loved it. And I think that kind of resonates across everything that I do. I continued to play my trombone and sing in choirs after I finished school because I still loved it. Yeah. Why stop something if you don't love it? Why stop something if you still love it?
Yeah.
Not the other way around. I still play water polo because I love it. I held that job because I loved it. I had a really great group of people around me. It gave me opportunities to meet other members of my community, to meet other members of the business world, and kind of better understand the opportunities that were there. But it was a real family for me, so I definitely stuck with that for as long as I could.
Yeah, cool. And let's dive into time management. So how does one achieve so much and still be fairly happy and sane?
Yeah, well, I think that, again, if I didn't like something, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So kind of manoeuvring my time around things that I loved and things that kind of gave me an outlet at times. So whether that be going to water polo training, going to choir practice, those kinds of things really helped me kind of manage my time in the sense that my stress levels were reduced and I felt like I could cope with doing more.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any one or two particular tips that I can really give you. I keep a diary, and I really structure time in my day to communicate with people, to do activities that I like, and then work everything else around that.
Yeah. That's cool. And it's fair to say you're an extrovert?
Yeah, definitely an extrovert.
So when you need a break, you just go, I'm just going to put my hand up for choir.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm also very adamant about getting my 8 hours sleep.
Yeah, so, that's good to hear.
Yeah, exactly. I might be out at a dinner with some friends and I'll go, no, sorry guys, got to go home now. Got to make sure I get my 8 hours of sleep.
That's crazy. Yeah, and so you like pretty much throughout uni have socials every day?
I guess it was trying to incorporate a little bit of social interaction into everything.
Yeah.
Or every day. Whether that be through work, whether that be through clubs and societies, whether that be through my classes. I think it was important to always make everything that I did really enjoyable, because I think that's what made me feel like I could manage my time best.
Yeah, and what's your sort of thoughts on enjoyment? Do you think someone can grow to love anything, or do you think that you just had that intrinsic interest? Or
I think you can grow to love things, but it certainly helps when you've found a niche that you like. Yeah. I mean, I did martial arts.
Yeah, how was that?
That was so much fun. I did martial arts for like 12 years. I did Silat. It's an Indonesian martial art.
What, for 12 years?
Yeah, I did it for 12 years. I loved it.
You any good?
Not anymore. It's been a while. But that was, again, something fun that I did. As a kid, my dad kind of threw me into it and I didn't love it, but learnt to love it as well. So I do think it's possible, but it certainly helps if you've got an interest in it to begin with.
Is there something that you don't like to do?
My taxes.
other than that, like any kind of activity, is it like, because it seems like you love everything and it's almost like so easy, right? Because you love everything, but like if you had a few things that you hate, then like,
Yeah, well, it's certainly seasonal, right? Like if you like something for 6 months, do it for 6 months. If you want to do something for 12 years, do it for 12 years. But there are certain limitations. You've always got to be able to prioritise and think, what do I love most? Let's do that first.
What things have you had to give up on?
So martial arts, had to forego that, and
for water polo?
For water polo, yeah. And for a period of time, choir as well. I couldn't do choir, and I don't do trombone anymore.
Yeah.
But in ways I kind of narrowed in on something like water polo. So I now play, I now coach, and I used to referee as well. So giving myself the opportunity to explore different things within that sport was also a really powerful way for me to kind of stay connected and be doing that one thing, but also doing lots of little things within it so that I could always be doing water polo, but maybe not always playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like sort of different angles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Still have some other questions about martial arts. So, yeah, did you actually, you've done it for 12 years, so was there any times where you actually had to use it and you're like, thank you, Dad. Thank you for dragging me into it.
No, I actually never had to use it in real life situations. Of course, it really builds an awareness of what's going on around you, and for each martial art, it's totally different. But for Silat, it was all about self-defense and just making sure that you were always out of danger. So that was a really interesting thing to learn, I guess, as a woman, and I would always go along to training and be the only female in the team, which was a challenge in itself, because in a lot of cases the guys will kick you harder than a girl would, or a guy will punch you harder than a girl will. So it was kind of a really fun way to build some skills, but also just get beat up. I loved that. It was really fun.
That's awesome. I'm surprised that you said that, the guys would actually hit you pretty hard, because I would imagine being the only girl, they would see a girl and they'd be like, and then they'd like do like a little fake punch.
At times they would, but then I just hit them back and they're like, oh, okay. Because, I'd rather be hit at full impact. Don't soften it because I'm a girl. I'd hate that.
That's awesome. Bit of a tomboy side, huh?
Oh, yeah. I just guess it's more, treat me the way you treat someone else.
Yeah. That's cool. And tell me more, so like what age did you start and what age did you sort of give it up? And what was training like? Was it once a week or whatnot?
So I started when I was about 8 years old.
Oh, so young.
Joined the kiddie class. It was really fun. So I did it all the way through to the age of 20.
Yeah. Until KPMG.
Till KPMG, no. It was all the way over in Tarragindi, which is actually really far from my house, so it's a long way to go. But 2 to 3 times a week.
That's actually like a big commitment.
It's a big commitment, but I mean, I loved it. Yeah. So Monday, Wednesday nights, and then Saturday mornings, we would go out there and it was in this old dingy shed because it's not a very, wealthy club or sport. But it would get hot in summer and we were sweating, but it was really fun. And I guess the best thing about it was as well that every session was different. So there was so many different things that we were learning, whether we were using weapons, whether we were using a kicking bag, whether we got the combat suits on and started bashing each other, It's kind of fun.
Did you have a favourite like training session or like a favourite thing? Like was it the weapons that you're most interested in, the kick?
It was mostly, so we had IPSI, and that is where you strap on the battle suits or like the big soft body suits and just went at each other. It was really fun. Exhausting, but really fun.
Yeah, and were they long sessions? Would you finish up really late, like 3 hours, 2 hours?
It was like 2 hours. So you get there at 7, you get home, finish at 9, and then I'd have to drive another 45, half an hour to 45 minutes home. So it was a late night.
Yeah, and you sleep early, huh?
I do sleep early.
How early is early? Make us proud.
Right now, it's about 8:30, 9 o'clock, which I think is pretty early.
I thought my 10 p.m. was...
10 p.m. seems pretty standard. And if it gets to 10 p.m, I'm going...
Yeah, you're already really drowsy. 8:39.
8:39, yeah.
And then what time do you wake up? Is it like 5 a.m. or something?
Well, I'm trying to get up earlier. But yeah, I am normally up 5:30. 5:30, 6 o'clock, getting ready for the day. But the earlier I can get up, the more I can fit into my morning. And that's what I want to be able to do. So that's the next goal. That's what I'm working on.
Yeah. Would you say you're sort of a natural morning person?
I think so. I say, okay. Yeah, are you not?
I don't know. It's sort of... I don't know. Yeah, I think parents waking you up and like sort of forcing it so you don't know if it's nature or nurture.
Yeah. What time do you get up?
Well, like now because we have work, so 6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's a good time. And then you get to sleep in on the weekends, and it feels like a reward.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's. I loved martial arts. It was always really, really fun. And I often get a call from my instructor being like, "Please come back." That'd be nice, but
so cute.
You got to prioritize. So maybe in the future, that'd be really fun to be able to go back to.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you didn't just like downgrade it to like 1 day or something, or is it kind of like you do 3 or you just...
Yeah, it's like an all or nothing kind of sport, but yeah, so maybe in the future, that'd be good.
I bet there are more girls now.
I hope so. I really, really hope so. There were a lot of girls doing it when we went through as kids, and I keep in touch with a lot of them, and often I'll say, come on, come back, we should go and train together, but no, not at the moment. I think it's still very male-dominated. Specifically within my club, definitely.
Yeah, that's cool. And then tell me more about uni. So what did you end up majoring in, and how did you figure out what major you wanted to do? So
I studied commerce and arts. In my arts degree, I started in mathematics.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, I loved it. Failed one of my maths subjects and went, oh my gosh, I can never do this again. Oh, and I got so scared about not being able to do uni and not being able to pass and finish and all of that. So I went back, finished that subject and decided I should probably reassess. Then went into economics, which is just a continuation, I guess, of what I'd studied at school, and I loved it. That was my arts major, so I did extended economics and really tried to hone in my skills on like behavioural economics and globalisation and look at those topics. I thought they were really, really interesting. But then my commerce major is information systems, which I know is yours. Yes. It was yours as well. I loved that. Cybersecurity, data warehousing, data management, so interesting. And it wasn't something that I had originally intended to do. Yeah. I thought I'll probably end up doing accounting or finance, and hated accounting with a passion. It was just not for me.
Works at a big firm.
Yeah, whoops. I'm glad I'm in the consulting side of things. Yeah. But thought finance might be it. And then, dabbled in information systems when we went through and really, really liked it. So stuck with it and made some awesome connections with the teachers and the lecturers. So that was really fortunate. Loved it. And so was really pleased to finish with that major. Yeah.
That's cool. And so you did 2 majors. Is there one that you're sort of leaning more towards that you liked more? Was it economics?
No, I think it was information systems. Definitely, because I saw more of a practical application to it.
Yeah, that's true.
Economics is very conceptual, very broad and theoretical, and while that has been quite interesting in the broad scheme of things, I haven't actually gone back and used Nash equilibrium to determine, an issue that we're having at work.
Yeah.
So, whereas I've used my business major to do that. So I think that's probably, information systems has been my favourite.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. And do you sort of have any sort of general advice for, maybe some of our audience who are like starting uni soon, and how to sort of make the most out of it, kind of?
Yeah, well, I guess one piece of information and advice I always give to new starters is if you don't know what you want to do an arts or a science degree. Start there so you're in the university system, and pick subjects that are broad, that are random, so that you can really give yourself an opportunity to explore all the different flavours of uni and subject like that. That's kind of what I did. That's why I picked my arts degree. I studied maths, psychology, criminology and politics, and just kind of went, they're all really cool, and I'm glad that I did them, but I'm also glad that I did economics as well. You know what I mean? So that's definitely my piece of advice, is to start broad if you're unsure, and then narrow it down a little bit later on.
Yeah, that's cool. And how far through the degree did you finally realise, economics, information systems?
Well, if I'm honest, I started in commerce arts, and then I went to science, and then I came back to commerce and arts. So I think it was probably maybe even so I was at uni for five and a half years. So maybe 4.5 years in, maybe 4 years in, I kind of went, okay, this is definitely what I'm doing. I'm going to graduate with this, and this is how I'm going to end up. So it took me a long time to really decide.
Yeah, so guys, don't worry.
Don't worry, you'll get there.
Figure it out. Yeah. Do you sort of, regret it, or wish there was a way that you could have, fast forward and figured out what you wanted to do?
In a way, no. I mean, I was pretty lucky.
Were you sick of uni at that
point? I was so sick of uni by the end of it. So sick. But that's the thing, if I have shortened my degree, then I wouldn't have had all the internship opportunities that I did. I wouldn't have done UQBA. I wouldn't have done all my extracurricular, and I wouldn't have worked at the cafe for 5 years. It was really, in some ways, university became secondary to everything else, and that was important because I was learning so much outside of uni, and I guess it was by the end of it, I was like, please get me out of here. But it was a great opportunity. I mean, I loved 5.5 years of uni. It was perfect.
That's awesome. And uni is such like a safe space to sort of grow in. You still have that uni student, tag.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me more about the extracurriculars. So UQ Union, when did that pop in your head?
Good point. So I haven't mentioned that yet, but the UQ Union was a big part of my studies and my uni experience. I kind of helped out with the elections, the student union and politics elections at the end of my first year. And in my second year, I was elected the environment officer. So that was really fun. It was a very small role, and we had a lot of opportunities just to speak with people around campus and kind of understand better what they want the university and the union to achieve from an environmental perspective. That was really fun. I then went and held a councillor position. So for the union council, I was second seat and just had an awesome experience debating things with people from different political views and different ideas about what the university should achieve. And then in my third year with the union, I was vice president of campus culture with Annie Janae. Yep. So we were partners in crime, I guess.
Yeah, and so cute.
It was a really tough experience purely because with campus culture, my portfolio was events and engagement. And that meant holding events, but that was 2020. So a lot of everything that we had planned all our plans were ruined by COVID, and we really had to shift our, objectives and try and provide services for students in a totally different way to anyone had ever done it before. So that was a real challenge, but something really exciting that we loved to do, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience to have alongside my uni studies.
Yeah, that's cool. Also, tell me more about the campaighning to get that role.
Yes,
I've heard many horror stories.
Honestly, you've probably walked through campus and been like, keep your head down, don't talk to any of them. But I totally agree with people when that happens, and I don't bother them because that's your prerogative, so be it. But I also think that it has a really important impact on campus. The way that the union represents students is huge, and it's quite interesting because in that role I really understood that the staff listen. Through my role, I was elected to the disciplinary board and I was elected to advisory boards, and I constantly was speaking with the Deputy Vice Chancellor to kind of better understand how to work around COVID, and it was awesome in that sense because I think in a way students really need to be quite switched on when understanding who they're trying to elect as your representatives for the union, because they have such an impactful say on what I guess the staff hear from students.
Yeah, that's cool. And how did you deal with the rejection? Like, this is different to a cafe where you probably have like a 90% hit
rate. To be quite honest, you have to have some thick skin, but also it's a really interesting way to kind of experience the political sphere. There are so many people from the LNP, from the Labor Party, from the Greens, and from other minority parties who get involved and really push to affirm their agenda, and that's cool. You know, I think it's interesting. I learnt a lot, and it was certainly a great way to better understand politics in general. I think I learnt a lot doing that.
Yeah, damn, good on you.
It was good.
Yeah, and were there days when, you know, a lot of personal attacks? How do you sort of switch that off and let that go?
Yeah.
Or do you just jump into choir?
No, a bit of that, but also it was just fun because you could, it's people really don't, they're not mean, you know. They'll say what they say, but it's never a personal attack. It's normally because of politics, you know. So I took it in my stride. I loved it because I was learning a lot. And I mean, all those awful comments that people would say and all those people that just weren't interested, it was discouraging, but at times I think it also really pushed me to work harder. So it was cool. I liked it. Water off a duck's back. It never really hit hard.
Oh, that's good. You're one of the stronger ones.
Yeah.
Cool. And then how did you sort of come with the VacSeen project? How did that sort of appear?
Yeah, so VacSeen project, we started in December of 2020, but we kind of ideated it then, and then it came about in January of 2021. But myself and at the time 6 other UQ students had an idea to provide preventative healthcare services to homeless people and disadvantaged people across Queensland. And since that inception in 2020, 2021, we've grown a lot faster than we had anticipated and been able to support a lot more people than we'd ever hoped. So it's been a wonderful experience. Our main aim is to provide flu and COVID vaccines to people who would really rather not go to medical settings. So we provide our services as pop-up clinics in shelters, in parks and in hostels, places where you're going to find a lot of people who are experiencing disadvantage. So it's
awesome.
Been really great.
And how does one come up with the idea and then execute it? Did you do it in collaboration with Ventures, or how did you kick it off?
So 5 of the team members, so there's 7 of us in the exec team, so 5 of us, myself not included, are medical students.
Oh,
so
that's useful.
They always had, you know, all 7 of us had this kind of churn. We really wanted to be able to give back to our community, and it just so happened that the idea came about. My friend Jeremy, who's our president, he was like, this is a really cool concept, and they're doing it in South Australia. They're providing free services to homeless people. Why don't we do it? So we kind of collated the team, really pushed to understand what the requirements were. You know, there's regulations around providing free healthcare services and that kind of thing. So it was certainly a journey, but it was a great concept that came out of just some casual conversations and a bit of online research.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm surprised that like the first thing that would pop in your head for a business idea would be a non-for-profit.
Yeah.
Does a business degree, works in the corporate world. Yeah, but that's cool.
Yeah, so I ran a catering service a couple of years ago, so that was something that I was really passionate about. That was my little side hustle. But with time, that was something that I loved doing, and then I decided that it wasn't really something that I loved doing anymore, so I stopped. But yeah, wanted to be able to give back to the community. It was never really about profit or, you know, making money at all. It was always just about giving back to the community. So as a group of 7, that's what we did.
Yeah, tell me more about the catering business. When was that in your timeline?
So that was Pitter Patter Platters.
Ooh, I like the name.
It was fun. I had a really good time doing it. So before COVID, so I probably would have been 19 at the time, I decided to start catering. I was doing cakes, cupcakes, cookies.
Were you making it? And then
So I was making and selling those things. And then I was also doing grazing tables and big platter boards. And so I would do that for corporate events, and I would do that for family and friends and social events as well. So it was a bit of cash on the side. It was really fun. Not particularly profitable, but something that I was passionate about, so that's why I did it.
Yeah, and how long did you end up doing for?
It was probably about 3 years that I did that.
That's quite long.
Yeah.
Still kept the cafe job, my gosh.
I know. Well, it was great because it was, you know, it was just something different. And because I was working for myself, I could pick it up whenever I wanted. So it wasn't like I was working on that 24/7. It was, you know, I have these free weekends, let's see if anyone needs a cake. So I'd put an ad out and say...
Oh, like ad, are we saying like Facebook ads or just
Facebook
on your
ads,
Facebook?
just on my, you know, Instagrams. And followers would say, oh, actually, yes, that would be great. And then would do that for them.
Wow, and how do you sort of, did you have a lot of like industry connections for like, or were you that girl that just went to Woolworths and just got ingredients?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I certainly went out to wholesalers and would go out and check out what I could. I did a lot of, you know, bit of research and kind of understood what best products would be good for my grazing tables or for my cakes and that kind of thing. So did a bit of that. I mean, of course, you're going to shop at Coles and Woolworths. They have the cheapest flour in all of Queensland. It was great. So yeah, I mean, when it came to stuff like that, yeah, I'd go to Coles and Woolworths. But yeah, definitely built some connections with wholesalers as well.
Wow, that's awesome. Sounds like you've done a bit of everything. Like.
Yeah, well, I mean, dip your toes in, try it out. I mean, that's the best thing about being a uni student, but also being in your 20s is try as much as you want. If you like it, keep going. If you don't like it, you can pull up.
Yeah, that's cool. And then tell me more about your current life now. What's your sort of day-to-day and where does sort of the VacSeen project kind of find its way?
Yeah, okay, so obviously here 8:30 to 5. Yeah. I live in a house full of girls, so I live with 3 of my mates. I love it. I love living in the share house, really fun. So I'm never alone. I've always got someone to chat with, and that's always really important for me when I wake up in the morning. Yeah. Get on the bus, get to work, and then usually I go to training in the afternoon. So I play water polo, like I said. So training is throughout the week, and then head home and pretty much go to sleep straight away. Yeah. So where I find a lot of my social interaction is through those extracurricular activities or through my housemates, and then on the weekends I try and socialise where I can as well.
Yeah, that's cool. And what about the VacSeen project?
Of course, I totally forgot. So the VacSeen project isn't a huge commitment for me. I work in the finance portfolio, so I do all our bank reconciliations and probably only put like 1 to 2 hours a week into that. So maybe every second Monday I'll go home and spend 3 or 4 hours working on that, but it's certainly something that I can work around. It's not necessarily always a priority. As a matter of fact, our executive is going on a retreat this weekend.
Oh, that's lovely.
It'll be really good. We're kind of going to pull back our structure and understand what we want to achieve for the next year. So that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's one of the benefits of having like 7 people as well. So yeah, good to know that you're still sleeping.
Oh yeah, I'm not doing it all myself. No way.
Yeah, that's cool. And then tell me more about KPMG Ops. What does that do? You know,
it's awesome. I love KPMG Ops. It's been really fun. We have a great team, and we certainly work across so many different industries. I have mostly worked in the health sciences and life sciences space so far. So my current engagement is working with a big pharma company to ensure that they can communicate and refer patients through an oncology process and an oncology treatment. So that has been really purposeful. And that's the kind of work that I was really interested in doing, and that's why I was super keen to join Ops. I guess we also do a lot of work in oil and gas. We do a lot of work in the energy sector. Private is fairly small, but we also do a lot of work in defence, but also in government work as well. So we're doing big pieces with the Queensland Fire and Emergency Services and the Queensland Corrective Services at the moment. So very, very interesting. We do a lot of work in supply chain, we do a lot of work in transformations, technical and team-based. It's a real mishmash of things, and that's why I like it, because you're never going to be doing the same thing for more than 6 months, really.
That's awesome. Never get bored.
No, you never get bored. It's awesome.
Yeah, one thing I did get to ask you, you had an amazing gap year experience, or was it a 6 months?
Oh, so it was actually 3 months.
Oh, that's shorter than I thought.
It was really, I mean, I should have extended it longer, but I did 3 months overseas. When I graduated, I just thought... Solo trip, yeah. I just thought,
12 years of martial arts?
Yeah, that's why I did it. No. Yeah. I was actually not the first time I'd travelled by myself. I did it when I was 18, which was really silly because it was the middle of winter. I did not know what I was doing, but it was great to be able to go back, and I did Europe for just over a month by myself. Great experience. I spent so much time in Italy. The food was amazing, but really also just took the time to reset.
Yeah.
You know, from going and doing all the little odd jobs through uni studying and doing all that extracurricular, I just basically cut it off and said, I need 3 months to just do whatever I can to relax and give myself the headspace to kind of reset and get ready to be working full time. So that was an awesome experience. 3 months obviously wasn't long enough.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that again sometime soon, but I'll give it a couple of years.
Yeah, that's cool. And what kind of holiday planner are you? Are you someone who just, shoves like as much into the day as possible, or were you just like, one thing this week and the rest is just up for grabs?
No, I was definitely more the latter. I would certainly try and spend I tend to have it in my mind that it's better to do 3 or 4 destinations rather than 10 destinations.
Yeah. Nice.
And within those 3 or 4 destinations, relax, sightsee, and just enjoy it as much as possible and immerse yourself into that as much as you can. So that's what I did. I certainly took less cities and spent more time in each of them.
Cool. And as a big extrovert like yourself, how did you avoid not getting lonely because you've left behind all your friends and family and living in a share house with like your mates?
I know. So. Well, it's certainly a challenge when you're traveling by yourself.
Yeah,
but
you don't know if you can trust.
Yeah. There's an element of trust in everything that you do, especially if you're staying in hostels, which is what I love doing, and that's what I just did the whole time because it gave me so many opportunities to meet cool people. There were so many Australians, which was, also of benefit if I needed to be able to call home and something was happening. I always had someone around who was somewhat related to my home, I guess.
Yeah.
I certainly just, you go out and have dinner with people that you've never met before, and you kind of have to hope that they're cool, or they don't leave the table and make you pay for the whole thing. But I did not have a single problem when I was over there, which was really lucky.
3 months, surely the odds were not in your favour.
I know. I was just anticipating that I would get into some trouble at some point, but didn't, which was really, really lucky.
Yeah. Any dangerous situations?
I don't know if it's considered dangerous, but in Florence we had some sort of freak storm when I was there, and we got hustled into, whatever building was there, and you just had to kind of stay there for 2 hours. So that was a bit of a challenge. Yeah. But I got stuck in Zara, and I just went shopping for 2 hours, so it really wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, that's cool. And how are you so brave? You can just do it, you have an idea, you just go for it.
Well,
everyone has that sort of fear stopping them. Do you have a particular reason, or
I certainly have a lot of fear when it comes to that sort of thing, but also so many other things. It's just about putting yourself in a position where the worst that can happen is really not that bad. And for me, it was a mindset more so. It's like, if this place that I'm going to, this hostel, is actually fully booked and I can't get a bed, that's all right. I'll spend the extra cash and try and find a hotel or find a local and go and stay with them, It's kind of just weighing up what the risks are and just putting yourself out there. So it was really fun. I didn't, when it came to traveling, there wasn't a lot of fear there as well, because I have family in Europe. I could go, if worst comes to worst, I could go to Poland and see my grandparents.
Yeah.
So I guess I didn't find it that scary.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good on you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, cool. So we're nearly at the end of the podcast. Just a few more questions.
Cool.
So the deep one. What do you think the meaning of life is, Lili?
Oh my gosh, Karen.
You saw it coming.
I don't know what the meaning of life is, but I think the spice of life is variety.
Yeah.
Certainly. I mean, you're going to have so many opportunities across so many different things if you put yourself in the position to be doing different things. I mean, wouldn't it be better to put all your eggs in lots of baskets rather than just one basket? I reckon you're definitely going to...
All good, keep talking. Eggs in multiple baskets?
Eggs in multiple baskets rather than eggs in one basket. I think that's probably the best way to sum it up.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And so if you won the lottery tomorrow, what would you do differently about your life?
Oh my gosh. I probably wouldn't change a thing, if I'm honest. I'd just keep doing what I'm doing. Probably give some cash to my parents. They'd love that so they can both retire. And I think I would probably I'd keep working, but maybe I wouldn't stress myself out as much about working. Yeah. Maybe I'd say, you know what, I'm going to take unpaid leave here.
I'm
going to go to the beach.
Annual leave.
Yes. Purchase so much of that.
Yeah. So good. And the final question is, what is an ideal day in the life for you? It can be work-related, it can be non-work-related, it can be anything.
Maybe this is a little bit cliche, but all I need is a book and a beach umbrella. Yeah. With a towel, and I'm happy to sit on the beach all day. It's just my favourite thing to do. So that's my ideal day, definitely.
That's pretty cute.
Yeah. By myself or with people, it really doesn't matter.
Wow, you're kind of like an ambivert then.
I'd say so, actually. That probably makes a bit more sense. I do like my personal time.
It's so awesome because I see so many sort of like little contradictions. Yeah. Right? You would think that, you know, this type of person wouldn't do that, but then you've done a little bit of everything and...
You've made me think. Yeah. What are you? Are you an introvert?
Probably more extroverted.
Extroverted? I agree. Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
But you seem like you're on a whole nother level.
Oh, no. I
need to relax, girl. Like, I need, like, my own time.
Yeah. You got to bring it back.
Yeah, but you live with a share house. You socialise, you know, everywhere. So
gosh.
You're on another level.
Do you live in a share house?
No, I don't.
You should give it a go.
Oh,
it's fun.
I'll hit you up with questions about that. Let's end the podcast. Bye.
Bye.